A land divided South Africa's new Expropriation Act. South Africa finds itself at a crossroads. A new law, the Expropriation Act, has ignited fierce debate both within the country and around the world. This law allows the government to take ownership of land without paying the owner. It's a bold move aimed at addressing the deep scars left by apartheid. For decades, the black majority was systematically denied land ownership. This new law seeks to right those historical wrongs. The act has sparked strong reactions, with some praising it as a necessary step towards justice and others condemning it as a dangerous violation of property rights. The international community is watching closely, grappling with the complexities of South Africa's past and the potential global implications of this controversial law. At the heart of the matter lies a fundamental question. Can true reconciliation be achieved without addressing the economic injustices of the past? South Africa's Expropriation Act is a bold attempt to answer that question, but the path ahead remains uncertain. Ghosts of Apartheid, the historical roots of land inequality. Understanding the controversies surrounding the Expropriation Act requires a journey back in time. South Africa's history is deeply intertwined with the legacy of apartheid, a brutal system of racial segregation that ended in 1994. Under apartheid, black South Africans were treated as second-class citizens in their own land. One of the most devastating consequences of apartheid was the forced removal of black people from their ancestral lands. Millions were displaced, stripped of their property and livelihoods. This systematic dispossession created a stark racial divide in land ownership, a divide that persists to this day. The end of apartheid brought hope for a more equitable future, but the wounds of the past run deep. Decades of discriminatory policies left black South Africans economically disadvantaged, struggling to access opportunities readily available to the white minority. The Expropriation Act is seen by many as a necessary step towards addressing this historical injustice. Trump's trump card America's controversial response. The international community has not remained silent on the issue of South Africa's land reform. Former U.S. President Donald Trump was among the most vocal critics of the Expropriation Act. He publicly condemned the law, calling it a massive human rights violation and threatening to withdraw aid and investment from South Africa. Trump's stance was met with mixed reactions. Some applauded his strong defense of property rights, while others criticized his intervention as an unwelcome intrusion into the domestic affairs of a sovereign nation. The Trump administration's threats of economic sanctions raised concerns about potential harm to South Africa's already fragile economy. The situation highlighted the complex relationship between South Africa and the United States, two nations with intertwined histories and often divergent views on issues of race and economic justice. Trump's response to the Expropriation Act served as a stark reminder of the global stage on which South Africa's internal struggles are playing out. Section 4, A Nation Divided South Africa responds to global criticism. Within South Africa, the Expropriation Act has ignited passionate debate. Supporters of the law, largely from the historically disadvantaged black majority, view it as a long overdue measure to redress the injustices of the past. They argue that land redistribution is essential for achieving true economic empowerment and social justice. Opponents of the law, often from the white minority, express fears of economic instability and a decline in property rights. They argue that the act will deter investment, harm the agricultural sector, and ultimately hurt the very people it aims to help. The South African government has walked a tightrope trying to balance the demands for historical justice with the need for economic stability. President Cyril Ramaphosa has emphasized the government's commitment to implementing land reform in a responsible and constitutional manner. Section 5. A world divided international reactions to expropriation. The international community's response to South Africa's Expropriation Act has been mixed. Some countries have expressed support for South Africa's right to address its historical legacy of land inequality. They view the act as a bold step towards achieving social justice and economic inclusion. Others have expressed concerns about the potential negative consequences of the law. They worry that expropriation without compensation could undermine property rights, deter foreign investment, and create economic instability. These countries have urged South Africa to pursue land reform through dialogue and within the framework of the law. The debate has also highlighted the complexities of international law and the challenges of balancing competing interests in a globalized world. South Africa's Expropriation Act has become a litmus test for how the international community grapples with legacies of colonialism and the pursuit of social justice in the 21st century. As Section 6, the economic crystal ball, predicting the future of South Africa. The long-term economic implications of South Africa's Expropriation Act remain a subject of intense debate. Supporters of the law argue that it will unlock the economic potential of the black majority, leading to increased productivity, job creation, and a more equitable distribution of wealth. Critics, however, fear that the act will have the opposite effect. They argue that expropriation without compensation will deter investment, both domestic and foreign, leading to capital flight, job losses, and a decline in economic growth. They point to the example of Zimbabwe, where similar land reforms led to economic turmoil. The South African government faces the daunting task of navigating these competing narratives and implementing the Expropriation Act in a way that promotes both economic growth and social justice. The success or failure of this endeavor will have profound implications for the future of South Africa and its standing in the global economy. Section 7. Land, Legacy, and the Fight for a Just Future. The controversy surrounding South Africa's Expropriation Act is ultimately about more than just land. It is about confronting the ghosts of the past, healing the wounds of injustice, and building a more equitable future for all South Africans. The Act represents a bold attempt to address the legacy of apartheid and the deep-seated inequalities that continue to plague South African society. It is a recognition that true reconciliation cannot be achieved without economic justice. The path ahead will be challenging. South Africa must find a way to balance the demands for historical redress with the need for economic stability. The international community has a role to play as well, supporting South Africa's efforts to build a more just and prosperous future.